fissures continue to open up the vents, and unfortunately that means more impacts. So a few more structures are taken out. We don't have the total accounting of what's been taken out, but as we've been saying the last couple of days, this event is still evolving. The volcano still has magma within its chambers, so it's just going to be hour by hour as far as what's happening.
So these new vents, those are on the lower part of the subdivision, right? Kind of closer to the water?
Well, I guess you'd say on the southeastern side of the subdivision, yes.
Okay, got it. I've heard from a couple of residents they're worried about wildfires now. The lava is setting off some of the trees. Have you guys discussed that yet?
Well, fortunately, we have fire personnel out there, so they're keeping an eye on that aspect of any lava flows. So that's a natural event because lava's as it comes out, it's just under 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and so it's going to torch whatever it comes into contact with. So it's hot. The ohia trees or whatever trees are going to start burning, and fire guys are watching it. They'll address what's going on.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about, you heard it a lot last night, that geothermal plant. What's the latest on that?
Well, I know the utilities group met this morning, so I haven't been briefed from them yet. But Puna Geothermal rep was there, and it's the same status that I've been reporting. As far as them being impacted by any vents or so forth, so far they haven't been touched. There's no vents opening up on the Puna Geothermal property. They've isolated their pentane, the flammable liquids, and that's where it stands at this point. If we'll discuss if they need to get it out of there. If it gets to the point where they're getting threatened by lava, so forth, and they need to get that stuff out of there, that'll be another discussion.
Yeah, I was going to say, will they be able to? Because that whole area is really it's becoming more and more surrounded as the days go on. Will they be able to get in there?
Yeah, they'll have access as long as Highway 132 and 130 stay intact. They'll be able to get in there. But there's other routes that are a little bit more, I guess, secondary routes. But there's still ways out of there. And even before this impacts, the event started happening, we had talked about them having tankers to take that stuff out of there. But so far, all the vents are within the Leilani subdivision.
Kakukai and Leilani intersect in two places, the top and the bottom of the subdivision. The new fissure, is that the one at the bottom intersection, the lower intersection of those two streets?
Right, so the lower intersection, I know, was affected from yesterday, right?
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Which streets are the new fissures located on specifically?
Specifically, I don't have that list for you. I can get the press folks to share that information with you guys. I just want to be accurate.
No, fair enough. Any new road closures, though? We've been shutting down some of the big highways.
Yeah, actually, 132 got shut down just because of the SO2 levels. I think, we went through this before in beginning of 2008, and we came up with a lot of SO2 mitigations. And we got to bring those back into place, and we'll get that out because we know that if you shut the windows in the vehicle, run it on circulate, you keep the SO2 out. So you can traverse an area that has high SO2 by staying in your vehicle and having that those settings done.
Are there concerns regarding the SO2 levels with winds moving to other areas outside of the Leilani subdivision at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll start affecting other communities. So that'll be part of our public message, the effects of SO2. Of course, the elderly, the young, anybody with compromised respiratory systems. If you start to feel it, get out of the area. The plume is usually pretty distinct that you can get out of it very easily. So. Other stuff is sheltering in place, basically. And we'll start coming up with the weather patterns. But if you're acclimated to the weather systems, and you know what wind directions are going to happen and what the proximity of your house, you can you can basically close all the windows and then shelter in place, and that, just keep the SO2 out. Like, if you live in the lowlands, it'll get warm, but those are some of the tactics you can do. Drink a lot of water, drink warm water.
Why warm water?
Supposedly that helps, I guess, ease the lungs, some kind of that kind of effect on the lungs. But drinking a lot of water anyway when you're around SO2.
Any reports of anyone getting sick or injuries, for that matter, with this lava flow?
Well, I know the police officers, and the firefighters that were in there getting exposed to the SO2s. A lot of them, I heard secondhand, were complaining of headaches. And I remember that when I worked in Volcano, you get the low level headaches, maybe some sore throat. You find out you're always clearing your throat. You don't realize it, but yeah, those are some of the effects.
Total number of people sheltering in Seattle right now?
I didn't get the last numbers. I'm guessing at this point, but it's going to grow because I understand the power went out, and so with that, people are going to be leaving their residences if they don't have power.
There's been a lot of discussion and chatter online and through social media circles about looting and issues. Any reports from the police department of looting issues in those areas?
I haven't confirmed it through the police department, but talking to one of the residents, that's what he told me.
Regarding structural damage, it's still just those two confirmed, and you're still trying to get a sense of what happened overnight?
Well, as soon as I walked in, I think there was two additional because another vent opened up, and the lava's kind of changed to the point where it's getting more fluid, and so small flow has been created, and so a couple more structures were taken out. But we'll get an accurate accounting of all that.
We've been having these really significant earthquakes. A lot of people are asking, what do I do? People will be returning to their businesses, to their schools next week. Even people can go back to their homes. What would your advice be when an earthquake strikes? What should be your first move?
Well, you got to take care of your safety, right? So I think basically, be in a secure spot, whether you drop down or you can stand and handle it. Get through the shaking first, and then make sure everybody around you is okay, and then you got to make an assessment of your property or wherever you're at. That means looking at for the utilities, gas, water, so forth, making sure those connections are intact. If they're not, you got to shut them down.
Any advice whether to be in a covered area or outside? Is it better one or the other?
You're just going to have to deal with it where you are. I wouldn't recommend running outside if you're inside. Just kind of stay next to a wall, away from windows, away from anything that would be falling. Yes.
The 6.9 earthquake is one of the strongest we've had. I think the figure was 43 years that they mentioned yesterday. Any updates the day after regarding damage around the island? Obviously, the 6.5 Kulako quake a number of years ago created quite a bit of damage. Any reports on this?
Well, yeah, damage reports are coming in. There was a number of landslides on the Hamakua coast, and I guess the federal building, the old post office, sustained some damage to the point where they're not operational, and all the public buildings and so forth are going to need to make assessments as to what their structures, if any damage occurred. So it's kind of good. It's a weekend. That stuff can be done, and facilities can open up.
And
Monday.
Speaking of facilities opening up, any words, schools, businesses, will they be open Monday?
I talked to the DOE folks last night, and they're going to be making their assessment today. But like I said, this is a dynamic situation. It's just growing, and so kind of, they might be able to make an assessment that, if it's at this point today, just call it off already, or they might be going to wait. I'm not sure what criteria they're looking at, but we need to start the planning ahead. If they can't open up, what we're going to set up for these kids.
As you mentioned, this is a dynamic situation, and obviously you guys are battling this on a number of different fronts between the earthquakes and the volcanic activity. What sort of support do you have from the state and federal government at this point, and what do you need going forward?
Well, they're present. They've offered full support, so it's basically us pulling the trigger on getting them. This incident is growing, so we need to grow with it, and I think we're going to get to that point where everybody's actively involved.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Are you guys on island or?
Okay, I didn't know how else to show you this, so I just recorded it off of Facebook. But did you hear what he said about the chemicals? They isolated them for now? You gotta listen to that again. I don't know. Anyways, I thought it was... I don't know. Anyways, I love you guys. Thanks for watching. God bless. Okay, I'm back. This guy too. His name's Akaika Marzo. He has the best updates.
Or doing anything right now, so it's just stalling out. But there is 7 fissures.
He has the best updates on Facebook that I've seen.
To have a big eruption soon.
Anyways, okay, I gotta go. I love you guys.
There's a couple more.